Today I'm going to tell the story of Jack and the Vegetable Protein Nightmare. Now, like I said, I promised that it would not be offensive to vegetarians, vegans, or even to flexitarians, and I'll keep my word. So, once upon a time, there lived a kingdom that for a while was very prosperous due to a talking golden harp. The talking golden harp was close friends with a talking calliope, which was also golden, a talking silver oboe, and a talking green and purple polka dotted guitar. Um, Now they all played music, and their music helped keep the kingdom prosperous. But one day, the king slipped on a banana peel and died, and with no king at all or no queen, some big person that nobody really saw because he came in the night, took all the musical instruments, and after that, the land fell into ruin. So everyone in the kingdom started to starve, crops started to fail, and they had a whole field of cotton candy, caramel apples, and already cooked fried chicken and french fries, but everyone in that kingdom was super picky, so they'd rather starve than eat that, even though it was enough food to feed the kingdom forever. So Jack was the name of a boy, a teenage guy, who lived with his mom in one of the cottages in the kingdom, and they had a cow whom Jack's mother wanted to kill so they could have at least a lot of steak. But Jack said, I think I could trade this cow for some more better food. I mean, I like beef, but it's not my favorite food. I prefer sushi, and I prefer barbecued spare ribs a lot better than beef. So his mother said, "Are you kidding? There's no food in the kingdom unless you want to eat that yucky food that nobody eats. So, make your mind the fuck up. Do you want to eat steak or do you want to starve?" Jack said, "I don't want either, but I have an idea that if I go over to the merchant over there and sell the cow for some of the little bits of food he has, then possibly he might have some leftover provisions in his back door refrigerator." Of course, because all of my story parodies, in addition to always containing, I forgot to say, language and content that can offend, so viewer discretion is advised. A little too late for this one, I may add. They always have modern day references, even though they all take place in medieval times. So Jack's mother said, "Well, all right. If you think he has provisions back there, I've heard rumors that he has, so maybe you are right." Now Jack, of course, had never seen the provisions back in the refrigerator, and of course, there were really no provisions. Jack was kind of bullshitting his mom because he really didn't know whether or not there were, and there actually were very few. The merchant only had very tiny bits of food out in front of his store. So Jack just wanted to try something different. He wanted to be creative, and he really didn't know whether or not there were provisions, so he didn't know that there weren't any provisions, so he thought maybe there are provisions, and even though there's the risk of either, if I fail and there are no provisions, either starving to death or eating that crap over that nobody eats, so I'll take the chance. So Jack's mother reluctantly agreed, and he took the cow to sell her to the merchant. Now, when Jack reached the merchant's little Trader Joe's in the middle of nowhere, he asked the merchant, "Hi, I'd like to sell this cow to you because I'm wondering if you've got any more good food in the back of your store in the refrigerator." And the merchant said, "Well, I do have a little food left, but the only food I have are little bits of food. Here, I'll give you a choice. You want this old seaweed roll of nori that's pretty dried up? Do you want this fruit roll-up that nobody has eaten because it's hundreds of years into the future and nobody really knows what the fuck that is? And here I have this whole bag of rice, but it looks like mice have chewed through it and there are maggots in it, so I don't know if you want to eat maggots and mouse saliva. So here are 3 magic beans. Well, actually, no, I don't know if they're magic. Some people say beans are magic because they make you fart. And I know beans, the musical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better you feel. So eat your beans at every meal." Jack said, "Wow, I guess beans sound really healthy if they make you fart that much. So, sure, I'll trade the cow for lots of beans. here, and you can beat the fuck out of this cow and eat the cow and have has lots of steaks. So the merchant said, gee, thanks. So he took the cow and he knocked her in the head, and he had steak for like a whole month. So, Jack took the magic beans over to his mom's house and he said, Mom, I traded the cow for something even great. And his mom said, what the fuck is that? And Jack said, this is really magical food. They're beans. Beans are the musical fruit. They're very healthy because they make you fart a lot. And his mother said, you are a fucking idiot. You know, I bet I know what you're doing. You want to be one of those vegetarians or vegans. Well, I'm not going to let you, hippie. Jack said, Mom, no, why did you think I would want to do that? I love my spare ribs and my sushi. I wouldn't want to not eat meat. And I like cheese, especially stinky cheese. And I love my scrambled eggs and bacon. And I love my yogurt. Why would you think I wouldn't want to eat any animal products? Or I'd want to eat dairy and eggs but not meat? So his mom said, well, I've heard that several years into the future, and also among some of the Catholic monks and some of the people of different other religious sects and of other philosophical persuasions in the village, it's going around that, you know, people don't want to eat animals, or it's sometimes not even their byproducts, so it's sort of like they run around in dreadlocks and tie-dye, their dreadlocks smell, they prefer not to take baths, and, you know, they go preach, we love animals, don't eat them and stuff. Jack said, wow, you really thought I was one of those real dirty, stinky people who never bathe? Hey, I love my good hygiene. I do not want to smell. And I do not want to give up eating meat. I just bought these because the merchant said that they were magical. And his mother said, oh, what about that fucking info about the merchant have a fucking mother load of food in the back of his fridge? Oh, and Jack said, oh, that was just, that turned out to be a myth. I didn't really know whether or not he had it. I just assumed he did. And his mother said, you know, assume makes an ass out of you and me. Now we are going to either starve unless you want to eat that fucking shit over there. Jack said, oh, the fuck no. No fucking way am I eating that crap. I guess, however, maybe these beans still could have some magic and possibly get us more food. His mother said, oh, how the fuck can you believe that, you idiot? I really don't believe you totally. I still think you kind of want to be a vegetarian or a vegan. In fact, I think you really want to be a vegan because you're that idiotic. So, his mother took the beans out of Jack's hand and threw them on the floor. They fell into a crack on the floor and fell into the ground, where overnight they germinated and then sprouted. And overnight, the beans grew into a large, gigantic, colossal, as tall as 10 Empire State Buildings, vegetable protein nightmare, aka beanstalk that's giant. Now, the reason I called it a vegetable protein nightmare, really there's no nightmare about it other than the fact that there's a giant up in the clouds that the stairway on the beanstalk leads to, but I'll get back to the giant later in the story, and we'll see whether or not this giant is a nightmare or not. But, other than that, there's nothing really nightmarish about the beanstalk. I promise you there would be no vegan bashing or vegetarian bashing except by Jack's mother to him. So there you got it. The rest of the story is full of the same kind of language and content that you expect and love from these story parodies. The only nightmare thing about the vegetable protein here is that it's a giant beanstalk that leads up to a castle with a giant up in the clouds. So that night, when it grew into a gigantic beanstalk, Jack saw it curious, and he's like, wow, this is leading to a huge beanstalk up into the clouds. Maybe the merchant was right in that the beans have a little more magic than making you fart and smell like rotten eggs and smell up the house for weeks. So Jack climbed up the beanstalk. He kept climbing through the night and until the morning when he finally reached the top of the beanstalk. And he's like, wow, that trip was fucking long. That was like riding 60 of those escalators at Porter Square that you look down at them and all you can see is, you know, the shadow mist because they're so fucking, you know, large. So, of course, I don't even know where Porter Square is because white people haven't even committed genocide against Native Americans yet in the New World, and I'm in fucking Germany in the Middle Ages. So, Jack climbed up, so he was already up in the kingdom in the sky where the giant lived. So he decided to walk around. He's like, ooh, this place looks kind of cool. Then he goes to castle and he's like, ooh, bet there's a king and or queen in that castle. Maybe they have, I'm sure they have lots of food since they're royalty, and maybe I could tell them about my beleaguered kingdom down there. Maybe they could even possibly rule our kingdom for us or find us other royalty, because we have, since our king has died and our queen died 100 years before the king died, we have plunged into fucking anarchy and it sucks. So, and also, what the fuck ever happened to those musical instruments that gave our kingdom its magical power of prosperity in the first place? I'm not gonna think about that now. I'm just gonna go into the castle. So Jack walked into the castle, and to his delight, he saw tons and tons of food, giant food, magnified to 10 times the size of what a human would eat. So there were roast turkeys, and there was lots and lots of spare ribs to Jack's delight. There were 10 whole plates of sushi. There were 10 whole plates of plain nori seaweed. There was a huge pot of steaming rice with vegetables and soba noodles and teriyaki sauce. Of course, in medieval Germany, they didn't even know what Asian food was, but that's beside the point. So, they also had southern barbecue food, such as spare ribs. They had collard greens, yams, barbecue beans, Kentucky Fried Chicken, which Jack also hated because his kingdom hated fried chicken, but Jack said, oh, so what if they have some crappy shit on the table? I'll just ignore that. All this other shit looks tasty. So, Jack walked up and he noticed so much more food. He noticed pumpkin pie, he noticed Italian spaghetti and meatballs, he noticed South American food like rice and beans from Latin America with, lechon asado, roasted pork from Puerto Rico and from other Latin American countries. And he's like, wow. And there was food from all over the fucking world here. And he's like, wow, I don't even know what half the fuck of this shit is, but it looks tasty, damn it. I am going to fucking dive myself into it and take a shit ton of all of this crap back to my kingdom so we can all eat and get fat like pigs. So Jack started to take all the food and put it into his knapsack. Of course, there was no way in the fucking world he could do that, given how the food was the size of a giant's food, and not a human's food, and there was so much food on that table. There was basically enough food to feed the human world in the Middle Ages the entire world over. So, because the population was a lot smaller then. So, but it was still enough to feed how many people there were in the Middle Ages. So, as soon as Jack started to collect the food into his knapsack, he heard somebody saying, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman." Jack said, "I'm not English, I'm German, you fucking idiot." And so he also heard what sounded like an apatosaurus, thundering through the castle, even though in medieval Germany nobody even knew what dinosaurs were. So Jack said, he noticed a giant person, a man who was huge for human size, and he noticed that guy had a crown on his head, and this was the giant king who ruled the castle in this kingdom up in the clouds. He's like, "Oh, hi, king. You must be the ruler of this kingdom, I'm assuming." And he said, "Fucking right. So, I'm sorry I didn't realize that you were German. I must have not recognized your guttural accent. I thought that it was Cockney." So he said that, well, of course, he also didn't really realize that Jack was speaking German and not English, because in the Middle Ages, Middle English sounded a whole fucking lot like German does today. So, and probably that it did in the Middle Ages, but I don't really fucking know about that. So, however, he mistook Jack's speech for Middle Cockney English of the medieval England. So that's why he said Jack was an Englishman. So Jack told the giant, "Hi, can I take some of this food and possibly have you and your wife rule my kingdom? Because my kingdom is suffering, and somebody took the musical instruments that originally gave our kingdom power, and our king died, and our queen had died 100 years before our king had died. So basically, we are a shithole country right now." So the giant said, "Oh, those are your instruments? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that they were just little toys. I thought that, oh, that's your kingdom. You're awfully small for a giant." Jack said, "I'm not a giant. I'm a fucking human being, bro." And he said, "Oh, so that's what you little giants are called. Oh shit, I've noticed so many of your little kingdoms, and I didn't mean to take your musical instruments. I thought that you were all little doll houses, like Barbie's dream house type toy collections, and I thought that those were just little toys as part of your, toy collections. I'm sorry. So the giant easily said, here, look, you can have all this stuff back, and I would like to be your king, and I probably my wife would like to be your queen. The only problem is we're a little bit too big for, your country. Our bodies, both combined, would take up half of the fucking land. And Jack said, yeah, I know, but who do you think could be the king? Giant said, well, you came all the way over here, so I think that you should rule your own country. Jack said, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not from a royal family. I'm a filthy serf. And the giant said, yeah, but you can marry somebody into royalty. We don't have any fucking royalty left, said Jack. So the giant said, well, just don't give a fuck and create your own government. So, Jack thought back about his girlfriend in high school, so he said, well, I guess I can ask my girlfriend. So the giant said, oh, I will use some magic to just shrink down this food to normal human size, and it will take a while to get all of this food back to your kingdom, so I'm going to ship it via airmail. I'm going to have my airplane pulled by several reindeer and griffins to go deliver it to all your country and evenly distribute it among your people so that nobody can starve. And then the musical instruments will come back right now, so they'll make everything nice again. So the giant, brought the musical instruments back. He shrank the food to human size, and but still it was enough to Jack and his country didn't need that much because, like I said, it was enough food to feed the entire fucking world in that age. So he just shrunk it down as to be enough to feed Jack's entire kingdom. So all the food was delivered by the airplane pulled by griffins and reindeer, and what is that? Musical instruments were returned, and the giant created a little magic crown that was human size, and put it on Jack's head and said, "Here, take this." And he made a little queen crown for Jack's girlfriend. Now, back in Jack's kingdom, when he was back, he asked his girlfriend, hey, the giant in that kingdom up there said that he returned all the musical instruments and food to our kingdom, so all we need is a king and queen. He said, I could be king, and gave me this crown, and he gave you this crown. Want to be queen? And his girlfriend said, fuck yeah, let's rule this kingdom and party down. Let's party down with black metal by Black Sabbath and, Marilyn Manson, and just have a constant heavy metal vomit party every day. And that's our take on government. So Jack and his girlfriend ruled the kingdom, and it was a constant Saturday night heavy metal vomit party for all, for as long as the kingdom existed, until it got overrun by socialists in the Age of Revolution. But that's a whole nother fucking story. The fucking end.